Um, Guys, I'll just continue. For some reason, everyone's just disappeared out of the room. I have no idea why. Who is who is in the room with me at the moment? Anybody going to own up? No? Chat. Okay, we got it. Marlon. Hello, Marlon. How you doing? For some reason, I've lost. Ah, here we are. They're all back. Welcome, everybody. You all disappeared, but now you're back. Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for being here and welcome to a brand new week. A little bit of a dusty start, I've got to say. But here we are, and hopefully we won't lose any more time. Let's get straight into the action, or as it may occur, inaction. I'm going to go to the pound first up, as we normally do, but I don't see a breakout potential here. Frankly, at this point, we're still in the same range that we've been in for 100,000. Well, a few days anyway. And all I see are false breaks to both sides. I see no reason why that is about to change. And our range from Friday is pretty massive, and it goes to both sides of that range. In fact, it shows false break of both sides of that range. So it's a no from me today on the pound breakout trade. However, I do have something here that has tweaked my interest. And it is on the 4-hour charts, and it is dollar Swissy. I can see that this has come back underneath the pivots here. So I'm going to place an order underneath here, dollar Swissy, and we need to take profit before this low. So I'm just going to place that now. I'll give you the levels on that. Firstly, I will put my trade manager to work. There we go. And we're going to enter this about 3 pips below the low of that candle. So the low of that candle is 92.48. We'll go in at 92.45. And the stop loss, let me just draw a line across there. Yeah, we might go to there, I think. Stop loss is going to be 92.69. So 92.45 to 69. Let's go with that. Slingshot, 0.5%. It's the 14th, isn't it? We'll expire this the 14th at 2000. And we'll go in at 92.45. And our stop loss will be 0.9269, I believe I said. Take that out. TP1. TP1 is going to be, pardon me, the low of that bar there, which is 92.37. So we'll get rid of that default and go with 92.47, I think I said. Or was it 37? 37, sorry. There we go. We'll take half off at that point, and we'll move our stops the same distance from entry as what our first take profit would be. So 92.45 to 92.37, 8 pips out of how many? 20 something. Yeah, that's about right. So it'll be 8 pips, 8.0. And that's all we need to do. Cancel TP2 because we'll do that manually, or we will micromanage it in need. Righto, so there's our entry. Here's our stop loss up here, being hidden by that line, so we can get rid of that now. And our TP1 is bang on the low of that level. Just let me make sure that that's 8 to 24. It's exactly 1/3, isn't it? So that's right on my limit. So we'll leave that as is. Tough for me from a fundamental point of view, unless something happens untoward, like a war, for instance. to suggest that the dollar versus the Swissy is going to be weak. Yet, from a chart point of view, what I see is a downtrend. I see a range. I see the top of that range, and I see 1, 2, 3 tops to that. We've come back into there, so back underneath those highs, and we've retested it with a rejection bar. And the daily chart is showing that clearly with the tweezer top sitting there. Not quite in good context for mine, but coming off the weekly pivot. And I think this may well be pivot bound for a little bit. So that's why we've got to take our profit here. And you can see that range that we've now come back into. And effectively, that 4-hour chart is giving me a lower high once we've come back into the range. So that's a go zone for me. We'll see how that pans out. Looks like they do want to start selling early in the session. We'll see how that goes. Righto, so that is dollar Swissy. There are a ton of things on my watch list. Well, not necessarily my watch list, but on the game changer bars. Okay, we have been taken into that trade. Let's see how that pans out. We'll come back and monitor that as the show goes on. Started with weekly game changer bars, and they are these. Cad Yen is one. Now, Cad Yen, although it is a green-bodied bar, which is something that I do like, very, very similar to what we just saw actually on dollar Swissy. What I see here is, pardon me, not really a reversal pattern, and that's what I like to see before I see anything to go against trend. And trend for, you go to the monthly chart, has been pretty strong to the upside. Has gone into a stall mode at this level 91.25 for obvious reasons. It's a strong resistance area. So I'm of the thought process that this is probably worthy of a small short, but I want to trade that more. And I don't see reason really to say no to that, because the first level of support is here. And if you take your risk factor of 150 odd, and what's that, 60 something for your first take profit, that kind of makes a bit of sense to me. The only thing that doesn't really stand out to me is that a reversal pattern, which is what I want to see. You could argue that there's a double top there. Yeah, okay, and a lower high. So that's pretty much what we're trading on dollar Swissy at the moment. And that's sucked back very quickly. We want to see that follow through, obviously. The Swissy Yen is the next one. Oh, sorry, you didn't finish up with Cad Yen. So Cad Yen, if you wanted to trade it, there are worse trades to take. I did say this morning in my preview that I wanted to see a weekly pivot test, and all of the pivots are all together there pretty much. I wanted to see a test there first before I went short. And lo and behold, that's exactly what we have got in front of our eyes. And on the 4-hour chart, bang, it went down on Friday very, very quickly. There's that test that I was talking about. And price hasn't really done too much since. It's just hung around in this area. Looks as though it does want to go short at the moment, which means it's probably too late on that 4-hour scenario. But if you fancy the weekly, I don't see any reason why you can't take that apart from the indecision prior to it. The test of all the levels there makes sense to me. So keep that one in the back. Well, if you want to trade it, trade it. Swissy Yen is another, and these are all very, very similar. They've got a green-bodied rejection bar, which really does suit me in terms of we're back inside that range, and we've spoken about that quite often. The thing that you've got to consider here is that the trend for 2 years, 2.5 years, has been extremely strong to the upside. It does look to be a little tired at this point, I'd have to concede. And we have come off the top of our range. We were looking for this to happen last week, to be honest. and it has come back underneath after hitting the top. So the top being, sorry, that doesn't work, does it? That belongs on a weekly chart. So let's get rid of that. It's going to confuse us. Confuse me, didn't it, straight away? And that didn't work. Let me try again. In the immortal words of Frank Sinatra, I would say most of you in the room have got no idea what I'm talking about, and that's fine. So you can see that there's a pretty strong indication of a false break sitting here right now, and this current candle is kind of confirming that. I don't want that candle to confirm that. I want that candle to close up here, and then we can look to enter underneath it. That would be a far safer play. Once again, the 4-hour chart has given us that little reversal bar off the pivots, exactly the same as we're trading on dollar Swissy. Interesting that Swissy is going short here versus the yen. That's been a bit of a battle. And in fact, they're always a battle, Swissy versus the yen, because they're similar risk currencies, risk on currencies. Risk off currencies, in fact. So it's always tough to judge that one. But for my mind, although we've been in a very, very strong trend for 2.5 years to the upside, this does look potential short here. I'm really hesitating to take it because I don't see a reversal pattern prior to it, and that concerns me. The daily chart's the same. You know, where's the reversal pattern? We can't really call that a double top. It looks like convoluted head and shoulders, you could argue at that point. I do like the fact that it's come back into the range. That does tie in with off the top of the bigger range. And I do see downside here, but am I really seeing what I need to see? And the answer for me is no. And what I need to see is that reversal pattern first. Maybe this is it. Maybe that's the head and shoulders. And if that's the case, then I need a neckline to break. So I need it to come down here. I'm just not willing to take that on at the moment. I see Ash is in the room. G'day, bud.
Hello, mate. How's things?
Okay. Well, I think okay. I'm very tired. Weekend knocked me about something fierce.
The weekend knocked you about too many,
absolutely.
too many Baileys after the quiz, probably.
Oh my God, I couldn't do any Baileys. That's for sure. I did plenty of other things, I got to say.
Oh, sounds like a good weekend.
Well, no, because it was on Saturday. I've been just worn out, terrible.
Oh, you're tired.
But, you know, yeah, absolutely. I was trying to work hard today and just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a break, mate. I mean, we had an event over the weekend, and it was obviously the Super Bowl last night. I don't know whether you watched it, but
mate, I couldn't. I just couldn't. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Couldn't do it.
I had too much to do. Yeah, was it good?
It was all right. It was all right. No, you know, the Chiefs didn't get through, so it was the Bengals and the Rams, two teams that I didn't expect to be there. I didn't think they played amazingly all season. The Bengals were one of those kind of underdog teams that just ground it out, and they were brilliant, but not that spectacular. So
okay,
you know,
so the halftime show was better than the game.
Yeah, the halftime show was really good. It was really good.
Cool. I'm just going through the weekly game changer bars at the moment. We placed an order which has just pipped us in and now come back to the pivots. We're looking to trade. And I find it very, very difficult, as I said before, to trade the dollar short at the moment because the chart looks very, very hot on the dollar index. And I did say that once we got out of this area, we'd go pretty hard and we'd go pretty strong. It looks like that may be the case.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I thought was quite telling, mate, is that the dollar did rally hard, and so did gold and silver. I think that says a lot about those two commodities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I mean, the dollar rallies, maybe not hard, but gold and silver rallied hard.
Yeah, we'll have a look at those charts in a minute, eh?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in that short dollar Swiss and in drawdown at the moment. But there's a few here on the weekly chart that we still need to look at. Can't trade this at the moment. We've been watching this one very, very closely, obviously, because, actually I'll go back to that chart and widen out a bit, because we are in a long-term structure, in my humble opinion. We've been looking to trade it up to the top side of that channel. Didn't get an opportunity, and bang, away it went on the back of, what was that? Can't remember now. The Fed? Maybe. Can't quite remember exactly what that was, but the market just took off and with no way to get on board. But you can see that it's come straight back inside that range. And we were looking last week for a test of the weekly pivot and potentially go long chasing the top of this channel. Well, there was no test of the weekly pivot, just smashed straight back through it and went straight to the monthly. I think I'm loath now to trade it to the top of there until I get something that looks like, I don't know, a higher low maybe. Maybe this does produce a higher low. But you can now see that we've got structures fighting against each other. This broadening pattern, which has now shown us a false break, is coming back to the downside. Not sure on this one direction-wise at this point. So maybe that's the guide. The guide is the weekly game changer bar, but I'm not willing to trade it back at this level. Doesn't make sense to me. Euro Swissy also got a broadening pattern. The weekly chart is also telling us very, very similar pattern, very, very similar chart, Euro Pound and Euro Swissy, and the same applies. I think if you wanted to trade this short, going with the weekly game changer bar, you'd have to wait for those pivots to be tested before you did, and that would be the case. So that's what I'd be waiting for. Euro dollar is, pardon me, also a game changer bar, also short. Now I'm of the opinion that this is the one I'd rather go with than any of them, euro dollar. And it is showing me a false break of this resistance trade line on a daily chart. So all I wanted to see was a bullish bar here to trade this short. It's not giving it to me. May have done so on the earlier time frames when I wasn't in front of them. But yeah, there's no trade there for me. I can't trade it. But the daily, if it were to close, as I said, as a bull bar, then I would look to trade underneath it short, because I am of the opinion that this can and probably will go short before the week's out. I'll keep my eye on it. The two more there were, dollar CAD was one, and it was a game changer bar to the upside. And that's why I was very to trade against the US dollar at the moment. This is showing me a clear rejection, in fact, a double of them. But this one on the weekly is telling me that this will break to the high side. I can't really buy into that, however, given the level that it's currently sitting at. It's also very rangy. So I think I'd have to see that range break and come back before I look to trade it long. Yes, I can see that inverted head and shoulders sitting there without question. That makes the neckline about here somewhere. So it's exactly the same scenario. So I'd have to break and retest before I'd look to go long, or come back down here and bounce off the support, the bottom side of that range. Then we can look to pick it up if that is the way you want to go. The weekly chart, as I said, is telling me that is a possibility. But again, there's no trade there. Last one is dollar Sing. A little bit messy, this chart for mine, but you can see another range there, and we're coming back on that. That's more interesting to me. What I'd like to see on the back of that bullish engulfing bar is a pullback, maybe to this level again, which would then potentially give us a higher low, and we could look to trade it up to that trade line. There's a nice confluence there with the monthly pivot as well. So they are the weekly game changer bars, and quite a few of them I think have got strong possibilities, but I'd like to see the pullbacks of the pivots or the break and retest before I jumped on board. We'll see how we go with those. George, sorry, George, the sec, I'll come to you. Ash, did you want to go to the FTSE first or no? You good?
Oh, we can have a quick look, mate. I mean, it's a tricky one. I'll tell you what, I got in and out really quickly, and I'm a little bit uneasy about the FTSE this morning. I'll show you why very, very quickly, because actually, you know what? Let me do this, because the sound will be better. I've just come to visit some friends in the
district, and there are dogs in the kitchen, so there might be a little bit rumbly.
Okay.
Let me give you this. Yeah. So this is the FTSE right now. I mean, it's an absolute mess. It's just getting obliterated by this tension over in Ukraine. It's natural gas prices spiked 6% this morning, and inevitably businesses are going to feel the squeeze on that. So it's going to have the knock-on effect, and the FTSE is just tanking to the downside. The interesting thing is where we are. You know, that there is a level of support, which we're currently underneath, obviously, you can see here, but the day could still be relatively positive if it can get back up here again. Whether it can do that is currently very, very doubtful. I did see just some green shoots of recovery about maybe 5 minutes ago, but they've just been swept aside. So it looks like we're looking for shorts. If you've managed to get a trade this morning, you're probably better off just staying out of the market, because really what I'd now like to see is whether the FTSE stays down here, and then look to see if we can, potentially short it tomorrow instead. We'd probably want some sort of reversal bar back up here again, and then look to go short maybe on Wednesday. This is going to be quite key, and it might well be quite volatile around here. I see no fight back from the bulls at the minute at all. So if you're still looking for a direction, short looks like the only way to play it. The problem is the price. If you're getting in this late, the price isn't particularly attractive. Will we see the monthly pivot? Looks like we will at some point this month now. But you still want to try and get the best possible price, and it's just not available at this stage. So nothing really there on the FTSE. I wouldn't mind having a quick look at gold, or some at silver, because silver doesn't look quite as attractive in where it is. Gold looks like it's looking nice, because when we look at gold, we might well
be
see
trend line too, hasn't it? Gold.
Yeah, exactly, mate. We got this one. We got this one here. We got pivots stuck around this area as well. So we are in a confluence area. I think probably better off waiting a little bit, but it might be one of those things that just doesn't really give any sort of relief for a while. It really does now depend on how much those tensions build up with Russia. But there are still a few battles for gold when it comes down to the resistance points. Even here, it's just about through there, but you could call that a false break on the weekly chart and get run over. So I think some caution still needs to be employed. And that can be done in one of two ways. You either take a small position and try and build into it if it does take off, or even if it does come down, or you wait it out and see if you can get a better price point and then get your position in the market, because there's nothing which is suggesting gold is coming down. You just showed us a chart of the US dollar and it was rallying. So gold rallies as well. That is quite unusual. And that tells us that, people are possibly concerned about the inflation narrative, but you couple that into the Ukraine narrative and you've got the perfect storm for this precious metal. The fact that you're probably going to get a lack of supply and a greater demand for silver makes it potentially more of an attractive fundamental asset, but the price charts don't look quite as clean. So I won't bring that up because it'd be edging into George's time. But gold and silver is where I'd really feel safer putting my money right now, rather than trading the FTSE, which I think is probably going to have a bounce, but you're going to counter trend something which looks pretty strong. And the problem with this particular counter trend trade is that the fundamental reasons are quite, they're a lot more unnerving. War is, we're talking about the big stuff. This it's a bit like when COVID arrived. This isn't whispers about whether a central bank is going to raise interest rates or not. This is significant. This is going to have long-lasting and long-reaching effects if it kicks off. And what Biden said on Friday was that it looks like this week it may well kick off. So FTSE is going to be tough, I think.
Yeah, they're emptying out all the embassies. That's kind of telling me something.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. I suppose short. You could take the short. And actually, if you look on longer term time frames, the short wouldn't be too bad. But again, play it wisely, and I suppose don't try and don't try and make a lot of money on the first one, and you could probably get away with it because longer term time frames, this is still an attractive proposition if you look on a longer term time frame. And I think if we are going to break down into some sort of conflict, this thing's coming down, and it's probably going to come down to the next possible level, which is going to be more like another 150% drop, which we're talking about near 3% down on the FTSE alone. We're forgetting I'm not looking at the S&P and Nasdaq currently. But let's get to George. That's my thoughts on it. Yeah, let's get to George, and he can give us his rundown and what he thinks about this current environment.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good.
Very tired, George. I've had a very, very strenuous weekend.
Oh goodness, mate! It should be fresh for Valentine's Day. I don't know if you guys see.
I haven't even got cars. You know what? I'm in terrible shape.
Mate. That's an American thing.
Oh, that's the way I'll sell it today when I basically appear with nothing.
No, I've got to appeal with something. I think the American influence is quite strong in my household. So.
Yeah. You're not going to get away with it.
I won't get away with it. I'm always educated when I hear you guys explain the fundamentals as to what I'm seeing on the charts. So really, and I really feel miserable for a few seconds because I don't watch the news. I don't even
only
know
a few seconds
about to break out. Only for a few seconds. So here's what I'm looking at presently. Overview, short in everything. But during the day, European London session, I'm looking at when I get into shorts for euro versus the dollar. This is the daily setup. So there's two places where I'd like to get into shorts. One, if we get a pullback to the 50% level, which I think we may have missed. So 50% of this bear candle, that pullback is something that I'd like to short at. Now, the reason that's interesting, I think we've kind of spoken about this double top ad nauseum. I think that's what they say. But have a look at this inside candle, breakout mode, and always look in the direction of the candle. And we ended up with a failed breakout, up, down, doji candle. So that's a trading range. Now, any break below a trading range is likely to fail. So when I was looking at this on Friday, I don't trade on Friday unless I'm holding onto trades overflow from a Thursday. But in any case, having a look at it, if this was going to fail, my view, it should have failed on Friday, closed above the 20 or even back to here, but it didn't. So I think we have favor towards the bears. So now the question is, am I going to get an entry today on my trading time frame, which of course is a 5-minute. So that's a 50% pullback. If ever we're to get back there, to be pretty beautiful, might have a double top, failed breakout, short, but we may not get there, but let's wait and see. The other entry level, of course, now will have to be a break beneath the low of Friday. Strong break. I need to see a couple of successive bear candles. Then I'll need to see a pullback. Then I'm going to look to trade that pullback. Then becomes a question of where I'm going to put the stop. And stop, if I get a break pullback, probably is above this trading range. Hoping for quite a bit of travel downwards. So looking for shorts on euro versus dollar. The other thing I'm looking at during the day, my day, which is London European session, it's two things: UK 100 and gold. Let's have a look at gold first.
Yeah, incidentally, George, I was going to say about the euro.
Yes, sir.
You'd expect the euro probably to be one of the currencies that suffers the most with the current rhetoric, because Russia supplies so much energy to them. So if there's going to be a problem, in that particular region, then Europe is, as I say, going to be in all sorts of problems. And can they then go ahead and start, being kind of hawkish with policy? Very unlikely.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying or what you're seeing, and I really honestly think it's fascinating when I hear the fundamental side of it, because it's I mean, price action is really a sum total of everything going through the heads of the leaders, isn't it?
Yes,
And
yes.
and the whole market. That's what we're seeing. So it's already telling us the story. A big part of it is already been baked into the price action. I mean, some of it will come through if decisive action is taken by the good old generals or presidents, whoever makes a call. But it all points out to, I mean, if you just look at the measured move of a break beneath that measured move of that height of Friday, I mean, it's got to come down all the way here, which is looking to challenge the low of last year. And if we do get that, that bearish strength is likely to be followed by an attempt to break beneath that low and maybe a double bottom. So, you know, there's room downside, 1.11287. So that's going to pull the market down. But of course, you know, it's a reflection of what's been played out. But for price action, it really is a beauty. I mean, if you're just patient to see it, wait for it. I mean, it depends what time frame you look at, but on the 5, I want to see, you know, that candle fantastic, but where are we? We've got 3 minutes to go. I mean, I'd love to see the bears closing beneath the low of yesterday and closing on the low of the candle. Then I would say, okay, breakout candle number 1, fantastic. I want to see a follow-through candle, whatever size, but full body. Then I'm a happy chappy. I know my stop will be up here. I just got to wait for the pullback, and let's get in and see how far we go.
Yeah, liking that.
So I've got to wait for that. Gold, very interesting place, as you said, many factors here, which for me are in favor of the bears. 3 push pattern, 1, 2, 3 wedge pattern, always reflective of strong bearish pressure in you know, because of these highs that are failing. If it was down here, of course, to be in favor of the bulls, but we also have this descending trend line. So that bull candle, if the bulls are strong, well, they're gonna give us a follow-through candle, right? So that we know the bulls are strong, which also, if I can just plonk this in there. So if the bulls are strong, they're gonna have to give us follow through candle to that, but must close above that high, must close above that high. Then you can say, hey, the bulls are strong. My personal bias is to wait and see if over the next couple of days we get this kind of price action, which is in favor of the bears. So I am looking for shorts on the on gold. You know, I don't think it will happen today. Even if we end up with an inside candle, I want to see the bulls attempt again, create maybe a double top or a failed breakout, and you know, see if I get, you know, another inside bear candle, something, anything like kind of that. I want to try and get, this is where I get one of those. I really am, and I want to wait for those reversal into 2 or 3 day strategies that I keep talking about. So it's worth the wait.
I find this one a fascinating one because I completely agree with you. We're at that point which is resistance. You know, we're in a sell zone, and if tensions do rise, the sell zone's going to get completely blown away. But if all of a sudden they turn around and say, actually, we've managed to get a deal, then gold's probably selling off, and you've got in at the high. So you take a trade here, then it becomes more of a gamble, doesn't it? It's like it's a guess. You know, you're basically saying tension's high enough for us to break through, because technically we should be looking for selling opportunities. But it's the nervousness. It would be a nervous trade. You know, you get into buy here unless you manage the money correctly. You know, there's still ways you could do it by, you know, just edging in very, very slowly. But if you trade this wrong, you could get in all sorts of trouble, and you'd be, you know, potentially sort of taking a bit of a panic trade because you've missed the big run. Down the bottom, it's the buy zone. You got in down there, you're holding on. You're basically not getting out of this one, because now you've got the chance for this to really take off. But at this stage, you know, difficult one to get in here to the upside, even though things are sort of like basically leaning that way fundamentally.
Well, I mean, if for any reason I was forced, you know, at gunpoint to take a long trade here, I have to be comfortable put my stop down here. That's the only place to put my stop. But I mean, you want to take a trade up here with a stop down here? I mean, why go through all the agony of waiting to see what happens? Rather give it day 2 until we get clarity. If it doesn't set up for a short, that's fine. I'm not going to buy until I see strong bull strength, pull back. Then I'm going to look, when that reversal sets up to go and get in with a much tighter stop. So it's really worth watching. And I'm not going to watch the news because I'm going to get confused. I'm just going to wait.
Well, you don't need
see
to
how it plays out.
The chart tells you what you need to know. I recognize that from watching Jeff for all these years.
Then the other one very quickly that I'm looking to go
Marlon.
short, is the UK 100. Now, I mean, when you look on the daily, it looks like it's gone away, which pretty disappointing. But I really would have wanted, because I mean that for me is a very good setup. The only hindrance in the way would have been the 20 EMA. Okay, but I mean we're gonna see if we close beneath this. So looking to go short now. Here's why I'm kind of thinking, well, how long do I have to wait? Now I'm gonna have to wait for that pullback, because if you drill down to the 5 minute, they really unless you were in the market sometime this stage, I think I was still doing my school runs and stuff. You could have, taken a trade there. But if you're coming in now, look at that breakout. That's what I look at. Breakout candle. If I did a follow-through candle, I'd have been happy chappy to look for a pullback. But immediately failed breakout. This is the low of Friday. Now we have another attempt to break out, which is fantastic. But I don't want to sell down here. Okay, I gotta wait now to see if we come back here, maybe get a trading range, get a double top or whatever, lower high somewhere. But still looking to go short. That candle this is a preventer. Now I gotta wait. And I'm no longer waiting for the first pullback, because that would have been the first pullback, which is not what I would wanted to trade. So I'm going to have to wait for a trading range of some sort to form and give me lower highs or something in this area. But let's wait and see. So that's what it is. Other ones will kick in later in the day. S&P, Nikkei 225, when the American session open up, that's what I'll look at. So that's presently where I am, guys. Waiting.
Yeah, like it, mate. Like it. It sounds like we're all on the same page, pretty much. I don't think anybody's looking at anything too risk on at the minute, and probably sensibly so. I agree with you on the FTSE. I mean, I was in on the first bar on the FTSE. No problem, Marlon. Thank you for letting me know. First bar on the FTSE, I managed to get in, but I very, very kind of nervously took profit because it looked like it was going to come down hard, and it's one of those that I could have stayed in, but I don't know. It's always a bit of a question. Do people start to see that maybe there's a bit of value here, and we haven't had any news yet, but it looks like the short is presenting itself, and I probably will try and get in and stay into the downside if there is a presented opportunity, because things look pretty bleak today at this particular stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you trade in based or coming off fundamentals or just looking at what's happening on the price, it's really got to be thinking short. And then, I mean, the point really is just going to be at what point do you get in. I mean, who knows? Hopefully, if it's ever going to get down here to test that low, then there must be a pullback of sorts that we can jump in.
Sure.
Pretty clear for me at this present moment. If anything presents itself, that's where my stop is going to be, just below the open of the day.
Yeah.
But I am waiting. So yes, part of the thing, guys, I kind of wonder, well, how are you thinking at the moment? So there is a break beneath that level. Okay, as long as we continue to have bear candles, I just keep pulling my fib down. But at this present moment, I got to see what's going to happen at this 50% level, 50% of that breakout. If the bulls are strong, then they're really going to close above that. Okay, push above that. Then what we have is the potential of a trading range, which is fantastic. Then you're just going to look to sell, take profits, sell, take profits. But if we bounce off that, and get a first bounce, fantastic. Let's wait to get another confirmation. Then that really is one that you want to take short. And at that point, you can bring your stop to that level, just above the low of so a bit of just continued tracking of the price, and let's see what happens with it.
Love it, mate. Love it. I think that's great analysis.
All right, guys. So yeah, we will see the guys on Wednesday, GMT 9:30.
Nice one.
Let's hope, whether there's war or not, let's keep trading the markets.
Yeah, war or no war. Well, we hope no war, but
yeah,
it's looking the opposite at the moment. One would have to say.
Yeah, so,
we shall see.
Sure.
Rumors and facts.
We'll catch up with you.
See you, mate. Have a good week.
Take care. All right. Cheers.
Thank
Enjoy
you, George.
Valentine's Day.
Be quiet, George. Keep it to yourself, man. So what's going on, mate? War or no war? What are you reading?
I think Putin's played an absolute blinder, mate. I have to say, I think his timing is just right on the money. He's managed to push he's managed to push the conversation at the probably the most painful time for the West. Inflation is soaring. Energy prices are going up and up and up. He is a provider of energy to Europe, and one of the biggest that's out there. And he holds some cards, which he really very rarely does. Any kind of sanctions that are put on, I'm sure he'll go, okay, fine, put sanctions on me, and it's going to make your energy costs even higher. Can you survive higher energy costs than you've already got? Probably not. So I think he's timed this to perfection. Is that enough to get what he wants? Is the question, I think. Because what he needs now is the West to buckle, and if they buckle, then he's done it. He's done what he needs to do. I don't think he or anybody else would really relish war. He doesn't appear to me, from what his actions, I don't know much about him, but from his actions, it doesn't appear to me like he's being stupid or like he's being gung ho. I think he's probably playing his hand very, very aggressively. But I don't think he wants war any more than anybody else, and it's just a question: will they get around the table and buckle? He's probably after the right president for it, with Joe Biden. But
the previous one would. You can imagine trying to talk down the previous one. That just doesn't happen. Yeah.
No, exactly, mate. Exactly. I think he probably the timing again is probably right for him because of who's in power. But it's difficult. It's impossible, mate. Honestly, I find it an impossible task to assume whether he's going to move or not. And the only thing I'm trying to sort of ascertain is what can the West give him to appease him and still not give too much away. Because it's on the face of it, it's about Ukraine getting into NATO. They can't stop Ukraine getting into NATO. I don't think the United States and Great Britain and Europe are going to say, oh, no, okay, fine, we won't allow Ukraine into NATO. I just don't think that is a goer at all. They may be able to put some hurdles in the way to kick it down the road, as that, it might be one of those that they try and kick it down the road a little bit. But he's on the border. He's facing for conflict. So I'm not sure whether kicking down the road at this particular juncture is going to be. You don't work.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a general of an army or anything like that. But idle threats for however many people he's got there, 130,000 or something. Really, do you go to that? Well, I guess you do if you want to make a point. You commit all that to your argument, I suppose, which is what he's done. But there has to be real intent there as well. Well, I would think. I mean, I'm not qualified to really say, but the logic of it says to me that it only takes a rock to drop and it's on.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. If he doesn't get anything, The question is, would he see it through? And the answer is, as you say, I think he probably would. He probably would see it through. He's probably prepared if that needs to go on. And I think the other thing is, if he wins this, which is what the West must be balancing up. If he wins this, what does that do to the balance of, I guess you could call it power, but to the balance of threats later down the line? Is he going to be able to to maybe come out with something else a little bit later on because he's managed to win this? So I don't know, mate. We've had a message from David. Actually, interesting. David's opinion is that he thinks that Putin is bluffing, and Xi Jinping are too brash, as the West aggression has always been to subvert their expectations this way. This is why Putin has made a mistake. And obviously that's an opinion. So do you know what I think is really interesting? So I was around a friend's house on the weekend, and we were talking about the Putin situation, and he rightly pointed out, not that he was defending Putin, but he was saying, what would the United States be doing if they had Mexico all of a sudden on their border, joining some sort of communist faction with China and Russia? They would be fighting it. So Putin's just protecting his interests, just like America would.
Yeah,
so it's
good point.
Not really, I don't think, for us to kind of have a moral opinion on it. It's more, because we don't really know what is going on behind the scenes. We don't know.
Wouldn't have a clue, mate. Wouldn't have a clue. It's just the logic of it says to me. It's the logic of it that he's not there he's not there to have a picnic, right? It's simple as that.
No, and do you know what? Brings me back to my other point. That the other thing that David has put in is that he's looking at pound yen longs. Now that seems to me counterintuitive. We're looking at a FTSE that has been obliterated so far this morning. Gold managed to get a decent rally. Silver's got a decent rally. The dollar's rallying, and the dollar will rally because it becomes a risk off currency as well as risk on. So there's some safety in the dollar. I would have thought that if you are looking at the current climate, whether you think it's going to happen or not, having some yen is probably quite wise. I don't think I'd want to be getting in at this stage. I guess maybe David's looking at, we should probably have a look at the pound yen while we're discussing it, but let me bring it up. Pound yen.
Yeah, I've been looking. Did we speak about this last week? I did 100 times with my group, but because I was looking for a short as it came back into the range, but it hasn't given me a pullback since it has. So I get the technical picture, but I have to say, in this kind of environment, you have to start ignoring technicals to a degree, because this is the stuff that that causes those big sweeping trends. Technical patterns happen, and they hold up better in ranges, whether you're looking at a 5-minute range or a monthly range. They tend to hold up when they're stuck into some sort of pattern. But when you get this going on, when you get what's happened with the over the weekend going on, there's every chance this breaks down and starts forming a completely different picture. This is perfect, really nice horizontal level at the top. Down the bottom, absolutely perfect. Not nice horizontal level down the bottom. And okay, we might end up getting a pattern and might end up holding this range, but this is looking pretty high at this stage. And now we've got a reason to say we know that the yen is a risk-off currency. Whether we understand why or whether we think it should be is irrelevant. We know that that's the case historically, and the UK has been, you could say, booming recently. GDP numbers the last print showed that last year we had one of the greatest growths in modern history. So it's a booming picture. It's for expansion. We're looking at things like the pound, especially with finance. So it wouldn't make much sense to me to say, well, let's go long on the pound and short on the yen. Even given that the potential technical support here might bubble along here, but I'd be much more interested in saying, why don't we try and see if there's a short on, just like George was doing with the FTSE, and like we could potentially do with gold.
and I guess that sort of is counter the argument because George was saying waiting for a potential bearish signals, but I think that's difficult. I think this is a difficult one to either trade or trade long.
Yeah, look, I agree. Well, like I said, my analysis for the last 2-3 weeks has been wait for a lower high to trade it short. I haven't got one, so I'm not trading it, but that would be my analysis.
Yeah.
And again, throwing in the war scenario or the rumors of war, that would absolutely back up that argument as well.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Go on.
If you are long, David, then fine. But getting long at the moment, I reckon, is full of risk.
Yeah, I do as well. I think you're banking on this having an about turn in a very difficult environment for that to happen. I don't know, mate. I think we may well wake up tomorrow and see a bit of a bloodbath on these charts. I think there's every chance that could happen, and this is where you say I'm either going to go in with the direction that it's going in and see if we can get that big sweeping moves, or you sit back and say let's wait until things settle down because we'll be picking up some bargains at that point.
Yeah, look, I'd like to be in the market in the direction I want to be, and free trading. I've got to say that right now, because if things do escalate, well, it won't be escalation now; it'll be full on, I would imagine. If that were to be the case, then yeah, we're going to see the charts move fairly substantially, no question. And I would like to be holding yen, and I would like to be probably holding Swissy as well.
Yes. I would have thought so.
I wouldn't like to be holding. Wouldn't like to be holding the euro or the Aussie.
No, well, this is the price action on the Aussie Swiss as we're talking out. I mean, this is all reaction of the weekend. This is all reaction to that speech by Biden, and it's interesting. You know, I was into a mentorship discussion on Friday, and I was talking about the fact that the day before we had US inflation numbers that were pretty poor, you know, for the market. They caused a move to the downside, and then on Friday we started to see this move back up again. And I was saying that the University of Michigan Sentiment Index, which was released on Friday, was such an insignificant number. We might see a rally into it, but as soon as it's released, we're likely to continue in the same direction. And I opened up the chart, and before I'd read the Putin stuff, and I thought, blimey, I'm clever. Look at that. And then I read the Putin stuff, and I realized that this had nothing to do with what I was saying. Yep. It just stopped. It didn't go anywhere. It just stopped. But then this tells you what you need to know about how nervous that people are. The Aussie yen is a proxy for the stock market, and
sure
and it's a great proxy for risk on versus risk off. It's probably the purest out of the currency pairs that I know of, that I'm aware of. This is telling you what you need to know. Very, very strong bars. I mean, these are 1 hour bars. I can't see another one in this picture. Even here, I can't see another one that was quite as significant as this one. So we know the direction of travel, and I just don't think you can fight it at this stage. You know, we will want to. David's saying the S1 weekly pivot pound yen is calling on the 30-minute. That might be. I think what my point, David, for me, is that I don't know whether we can trade technically at this stage. You know, unless we are just enjoying a short and we're just kind of like moving our stops down, not too aggressively, but we're moving our stops down. I'm not sure whether we can trade to a point and then look for it to reverse, because there's a greater force at turn here. It's not about University of Michigan Sentiment Index. It's not about CPI. It's not about core CPI or unemployment. This is a significant disruptor to the balance of the world. And I think
and we're seeing it.
And we're seeing it. Yeah, we're seeing it play out. And I think you might well find it tricky to get in the opposite direction. That's just my opinion. You know, I've got no idea if I'm right at all. It's just that I wouldn't be doing it myself. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yep. Tough, really tough to be trading against those pair, the Swissy and the yen at the moment. How
appreciate your
resolves,
opinion, David. That is one thing I would say, mate. Appreciate your opinion, and it's great to have a discussion on this stuff.
how that resolves, if we don't see war this week, is what everyone's tipping, or what the Western side of the equation is tipping. Russia's still saying no, as far as I'm aware. If that doesn't pan out this week, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if it does, then we're going to see more of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Oh God, mate. If it does, I think we're going to see twice the size of the moves that we're seeing right now. And that's what some people are positioning themselves for, which makes me very nervous, mate, as well. On the other side of the coin, it makes me nervous. This would make me nervous getting into a gold long at this particular stage. It would feel like you are covering your back, and your back may not need covering. And if that's the case, then gold might have an aggressive move back down again. No question to my mind that everybody should have some gold in the portfolio, but either adding or getting in here feels like a nervous type of trade. It feels like you're sort of, you're panicked that you've missed a bit of a move, and you're panicked about what's going to happen next, and then you're just buying it up because you're just, concerned that it's a fear of missing out kind of trade at this particular point. I still think that if we calm down and come back and say, let's continue to trade technically and continue to trade professionally and continue to wait for our setups, then we'll either get them or we won't. And if we don't get them because there's a huge move, then we know that eventually things will calm down and we'll get them again. But let's sort of like step back and say, maybe this market isn't for us. Maybe it's just going to be too much to get involved in.
And if it is, and you do have a system that looks absolutely spot on in terms of getting your entries, then just consider that it's probably going to be riskier than it would normally be. And for that reason, that it's an obvious thing to do, halve your risk. Yes,
exactly, mate. Yeah, manage the money. Manage the money slightly differently. I think that's wise. That's wise counsel. But we'll see how it all pans out, mate. I mean, we haven't even discussed what is on the horizon for the news this week.
Well, let's do that, shall we?
Yeah, let's. Are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing?
Yep.
Yep. You seeing the Forex factory?
Not yet. No, still in gold.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's quite nice. I've only got my laptop where I am, but I quite like the fact that with Zoom you can actually choose the window that you share, not just the screen.
You can, yes,
which is great.
The one thing that's curious to me,
yeah,
is how does it know which windows you've actually got
open? I don't know. I'm not
there you go. So that's question of the week. I don't think John's in the room, but there's the question of the week.
Oh yeah, there's the question for him. We've got
somebody will know.
Somebody will know, mate. Some technical genius that is probably not us will be able to answer that.
Certainly not me.
This is what we have. We got Christine Lagarde and Bullard speaking today. What will they speak about? Because and I don't know whether these are interviews, because if they're interviews to discuss monetary, and in an interview conducted by CNBC, he's going to be asked about what happens with the Russian situation. The question will be, can you tighten if this stuff's going on? Undoubtedly, that's going to come up. So Bullard and Lagarde out later on. That could have provide a bit of a relief rally if the situation hasn't kind of got out of hand by that point. A few numbers from the US, but I think this is much of the muchness now. If you're going on the numbers, then you probably going to be looking at the charts in a bit of a different way. I'm really interested in about the interviews. CPI from the UK, I think, okay, this is going to be interesting. How bad is inflation getting? Does the situation continue to push that inflation higher? CPI from Canada as well, got quite a lot in the way of inflation data. FOMC minutes, okay, that could have some telling as well. Actually, it's quite a lot this week in some respects, mate. Quite a
As
broad,
you said, though, I wonder how much of it's going to be overshadowed by what the heck's going on.
Yeah,
is it going to, like the technical scenario? Is it going to mean a lot? We'll see. Lots
of speakers this week towards the end of the week.
It's a speechathon. Yep.
Yeah, Waller Williams, a monetary policy report, Brainard speaking, and obviously we've had Bullard speaking as well. So lots and lots of speeches this week with a bit of CPI data thrown in there. So hard to know which way that will any of that will go. The way that it feels right now, I feel much more comfortable saying just look to get short if you can, and just see if you can kind of like pull something out, or just sit it out and wait for things to settle down. It might be one of those weeks that volatility is actually not going to be our friend. I never thought I'd say that, but it might be just one of those periods in time where every year you get one or two occasions where things just get so out of whack. It is just too much of a white knuckle ride.
Yep. Lewis, we've been speaking about that at length. Lewis is asking, do we think Russia will really attack? Well, logic tells me, Lewis, that they're not there for no reason. Yes, it's a big power play, but if they're there and they don't get what they want, then, and I'm no general and I'm no tactician, and I know nothing. I'm not qualified to comment, but logic tells me that he's not there for no reason. That's all. That's all I can say. Now, David, it's actually funny I'm so opposite because I'm also looking at the Aussie dollar long. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with being opposite because someone's got to be right, someone's got to be wrong, right? That's how the market works. All you need is to have a sound reason, or two or three or four, why you can, and something to back up your argument, and then trade it as you see fit. We're only talking our opinions here, really, at the moment. And, from a fundamental point of view, we're not Vladimir Putin. We're not Joe Biden. We can't get into their heads, that's for sure. But what we are saying is if the market thinks that there's a chance of war, and what I'm looking at right now is the market telling me that's exactly what it thinks, then you're not going to see the Aussie rally against the dollar. You're not going to see the Aussie rally against the yen until such times as that situation corrects itself, in my humble opinion. Because you're talking about the Aussie being a risk-off currency. When the risk is off, you're talking about the Aussie being a risk-on currency. When the risk is on, then the Aussie rallies. When the risk is off, when the market's hasn't got a risk appetite, let me put it that way, then the Aussie won't rally. And that's pretty much what we're seeing at the moment.
I think that's really well put, mate. I think the fact that your point about the charts are telling us that the market is currently nervous about the situation of war is probably that really does coin it for me. I think that does really hit it. That's what the market is telling us. Currently, there is nervousness, and to expect that tankard to all of a sudden turn around seems to me like it may well be too early. The tankard will turn eventually, but I don't think it's yet. I think we're going to need to allow this to just to kind of breathe a little bit and percolate a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first part of the damn wall has just burst.
Yeah,
it hasn't broken down completely, but there's a whole lot of water coming down that river, and if you're trying to swim upstream at the moment, you're headlong into what could be a real bad situation. That's the analogy that I can only kind of use.
Yeah, and you might well get washed down the sewers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not talking normal here, as I said before. This is not a normal situation. So when it's not normal and the market starts to say that this is not normal, then that's the only thing I can go by. Now, seriously, am I going to trade too much this week? No, unless there's a massive pullback and it's a technical scenario that I like. And even if it's there, I'll probably trade it at a very small risk. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Because I see the market is edgy and it's not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. A week to be hyper careful and hyper professional and expect to, if you go in expecting to lose and tell yourself what you will do when you lose and see it through, I think you'll be okay. But if you go in without any mental preparation, it could be a very frustrating week. And these are the sort of weeks that finish people or put them so far back they think they can't do this. But this is where you have to say, you know what, I can trade. I am a good trader, and these are the ones that I need to avoid to continue to be able to show that I can trade. So yeah, be very, very careful. I would say, mate. As you say, this is an unusual scenario. War doesn't happen very often, and I tell you what, if it does happen, we're not talking about a war between one school in the community and another school in the community. We're talking about Russia, and we're talking about China being on the same team as Russia. And we're talking about the United States and Europe. And
yeah, some big players here.
It's the big players. There's going to be no backing down from one party to the other if the countries that are currently facing off and their mates all get involved. It's not even Iran was quite at this stage. It's these are countries that can be to a degree still controlled, but different story with Russia. I mean, I know that the United States can put some sanctions on them, and it will hurt Russia deeply. They're a terrible economy, really, but it's the fact they might have China on their side, and it could get very, very messy very, very quickly because they've got some pretty harsh weapons. So yeah, just be sensible. I think that's
I'll tell you what, I'm not looking forward to it. I've got to tell you, it's not going to be pretty.
No,
not at all.
All right, mate. Well, let's wrap it up on that happy note.
Yeah, full of joy, aren't we?
Yeah. We'll be back. We'll be back. Just being able to trade something which is just a little bit simpler, I think. But we'll be back Thursday anyway, and the quiz will be in. I'm presuming John's going to be back to save us from a
yes, from our embarrassment. I was just going to say, those of you who are in the Slingshot group, of course, we've got our Q&A coming up in around about, what's the time? What is the time?
It is just gone 9 here.
Yeah, in about 25 minutes from now. If you can be there, happy days. If not, you'll have the recording available to you. And it's also Education Week this week for the Slingshot Education Group. Unfortunately, I haven't got that finished, but it should be in your inboxes, or the link should be in your inboxes or the Telegram group by this time tomorrow, I would hope. We are about 2 pips away from our first profit on pound Swissy at the moment. Sorry, dollar Swissy at the moment. Let's see how that one goes. 2 pips to go. See how we go.
Nicely done.
All right, mate. Have a good week.
You too, buddy. Really pleasure as always.
Thank you all for being our trading buddies. David, thanks for your questions, mate. I hope that what we've had to say actually means something, and you have a little think about that. That would be good. But don't ever change your mind based on rumor. Just be careful. That's all we're saying. Be careful and control your risk. That's all. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye for now.